Yeah, well, I think when you look at the history of Bitcoin in China, I mean, Bitcoin in China really started to take off in 2013, and the government put some regulations in place around that time. So they said that the banks couldn't sell or connect directly with the Bitcoin exchanges. So that kind of moved the risk away from the banking system. I think what we've seen over the course of the beginning of this year is the popularity of these ICOs, these initial coin offerings. And that's really risky for some of the consumers because these are, in many cases, fraudulent activities or may not have proper business models behind them. So I think the government is taking time to look at ICOs and certainly with Bitcoin as well. With both, it could be temporary. It's very unclear exactly what's happening with the regulation around Bitcoin itself, but clearly ICOs are paused for the moment.
Zenon, oftentimes when we talk about regulation of Bitcoin, I feel like a broken record because the question I always have is, how do you regulate a space that's inherently meant to be anonymous and cut out the central authority? I mean, earlier this year, we had heard of over in China where authorities were showing up at these exchanges to try and really vet the traders who were looking to get into Bitcoin very heavily. Where do you see the regulation actually going?
Certainly, and that's the biggest challenge because it is decentralized, it is virtualized, so nobody can really stop it. The only way you can really stop Bitcoin in China completely is if you shut down the internet. So the regulators are really focused on the points where Bitcoin hits fiat currency. So if we look at the original regulations, it was around the exchanges, right? So that's where people would be taking their renminbi and buying Bitcoins with it. And I think we'll see that continue going forward. I mean, the current regulation that's being talked about is banning Bitcoin exchanges, which would cut out a lot of the trade flows that we're seeing in China right now and the exchanges around Bitcoin. So we'll likely see them focus around those activities where there is an entity or a person or some kind of connection to the traditional financial system that they can control.